After a quick sweep and a relatively easy journey, the Boston Celtics have dominated their way back to the NBA Finals. And from the West, the Dallas Mavericks have overcome 3 series, each time as the lower seed. But don't be fooled by seeding alone. In the fiercely competitive Western Conference, the 5th-seeded Mavericks, with 50 wins to their credit, have showcased a remarkable transformation post-trade deadline. This shift can largely be attributed to their revamped roster. Following the acquisition of PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, the Mavericks have emerged as frontrunners in the West, boasting a remarkable 24-9 record from the trade deadline until the conclusion of the regular season. This dramatic turnaround coincided with their ascendance to the 6th rank in both offense and defense performance across the league. All this while Luka was turning in a historic MVP-level season. But here's the thing. All season long, the Boston Celtics have been dismantling the league. When the Celtics are hot from 3, they are the scariest team in the league. Now, this series has some interesting narratives that I'm sure media will cover heavily. Luka Doncic and Jason Tatum were drafted 1 year apart and have emerged as 2 of the league's premier talents. But maybe a bigger headline for the series is between players and their former teams. Kyrie Irving had a stint with the Celtics during the 2017-18 and 2018-19 seasons. Their highly publicized split occurred when Irving departed Boston in 2019 free agency to team up with Kevin Durant on the Brooklyn Nets. Since his departure, Irving has received nothing but boos from Celtics fans, and he's made it clear that the feeling is mutual. Kristaps Porzingis, who performed exceptionally for the Celtics this season, previously spent 3 seasons in Dallas before being traded to the Washington Wizards in 2022. The primary reason for Porzingis' less than ideal time in Dallas stemmed from injuries as his body struggled to endure the demands of a full season. Additionally, Porzingis has acknowledged that he could have embraced the role of a secondary star alongside Doncic more effectively. I'm sure Dallas fans anxiously await his return to Texas, just as TD Garden will erupt at Kyrie Irving. Now, much of the conversation surrounding the Celtics this postseason has focused on a so-called easy path to the finals. They dropped 1 game in the opening round against the Miami Heat, but were able to win in 5, partially due to Jimmy Butler's injury. A similar situation unfolded in the semifinals against the Cleveland Cavaliers, with Donovan Mitchell sidelined. Then, in the conference finals, they wrapped up the Indiana Pacers, who were missing Tyrese Halliburton. While their journey could have been tougher, it's worth noting a few things. Firstly, the path to a championship doesn't define the greatness of a team. Whether they face adversity or catch breaks, history won't remember the details if they triumph over the Dallas Mavericks. It's not like the record books will carry an asterisk next to their name, regardless of what the debates say. Secondly, Boston secured the number 1 seed by winning 7 more regular season games than any other team in the league. Their impressive performance over several months earned them this advantage. If they encountered flawed teams in the playoffs, it's because they positioned themselves to do so. Moreover, injury luck isn't exclusive to Boston. New York faced a hobbled Joel Embiid in their series against the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Pacers didn't have to contend with Giannis Antetokounmpo in their opening round against the Bucks. Injuries are inherent in sports, and managing them during crucial moments often defines championship-winning teams. In Game 1, Indiana outplayed Boston but faltered late, allowing Jaylen Brown to seal a clutch victory. The Pacers held a 7-point lead in the 4th quarter of Game 3 before a stunning turnaround, and they had a 9-point advantage in the final quarter of Game 4 before collapsing. One could argue that the Pacers should be leading the series 3-1 and on the brink of closing it out, but perhaps the Celtics' ability to navigate through those challenges against a quality opponent deserves admiration over criticism. Now, let me be clear. In the West, competition was certainly different than the East. The Dallas Mavericks recently triumphed over the 7th and 2nd ranked teams in net rating on their path to the conference finals. Following their victory against the Wolves, they have now overcome the team with the 3rd best net rating. Overcoming the Celtics would add the number 1 net rating to their list. While it's fair to acknowledge the absence of Kawhi Leonard in the Clippers series, It's equally significant to note that Luka Doncic has been battling injury himself. Few anticipated a playoff series win for the Mavericks, especially with Doncic's shooting percentages barely above 40% from the field and 30% from three-point range. This achievement is largely credited to the Mavericks' robust defense, which has remained steadfast from the regular season into the playoffs. Throughout the playoffs, Mavericks opponents have been limited to shooting 36% from beyond the arc. Although the Mavericks face challenges against 5-out teams that stretch the three-point line, during the regular season especially, they have managed to overcome expectations, particularly evident in their 6-game series victory against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Despite lacking home court advantage and missing key player Maxi Kleber, the success against the top-seeded Thunder and the third-seeded Wolves, both teams boasting high season-long net ratings, cannot be solely attributed to favorable matchups or just shooting luck. The Mavericks' defensive prowess, evident in their ability to restrict scoring opportunities near the rim, has been a defining factor. Opponents have struggled to generate offense close to the basket, highlighting the Mavericks' defensive strength as a crucial aspect of their playoff run. For years, the Mavericks have sought to bolster their defensive capabilities to complement Luka Doncic's offensive prowess. This endeavor has often fallen short due to either offensive limitations or defensive vulnerabilities. However, this version of the Mavericks defense, which ranked first in the league during the final 15 games of the season, features multiple contributors. Players like Gafford, Lively, Jones Jr., and Washington have made significant contributions, while both Doncic and Irving's commitment to a defensive mindset has played a pivotal role in Dallas's resurgence. The Celtics and Mavericks faced off twice this season, with Boston taking both games in convincing fashion, including a 28-point victory on March 1st. While the Mavericks were still gelling as a newly put-together team, there's no doubt that Boston showed why they held the best record in the league this year. Now, the first game of the NBA Finals isn't until June 6th, and a week of rest certainly holds benefits for both teams. Luka Doncic has been dealing with an injured knee, along with other recovering players including Derek Lively and Maxi Kleber, but the Celtics are also awaiting the return of one of their most important players in Kristaps Porzingis, who has only played in 4 games in this postseason. One could make the argument that the return of Porzingis alone changes the identity of the Boston Celtics entirely. But injuries aside, let's look at the X factors going into this series, starting with the Celtics. Now, this Boston team is so talented top to bottom that almost any of their core guys can be selected as the X factor against Dallas. Porzingis will be huge and would be an easy choice to focus on. Derek White has been invaluable, and Jaylen Brown was named a Conference Finals MVP. But one major X factor I see for the Celtics is an obvious one, but not for the usual reasons. Jason Tatum has established himself as one of the premier talents in the NBA, and a part of his arsenal of skills is his defense. Against the Thunder, Luka Doncic had a harder time against Lu Dort, a bulky and strong defender, while against Jaden McDaniels, he was able to dismantle the Wolves for most of the series. Jason Tatum offers a balance of length and strength that Luka hasn't fully faced in the playoffs thus far. I think that Tatum's commitment on the defensive end in the finals could prove pivotal in turning it in favor of the Boston Celtics. As for Dallas, I think the X factor will be their wing defenders, specifically Derek Jones Jr. and PJ Washington. In their second matchup of the regular season, the Celtics really hunted matchups, focusing on getting good wing defenders off Tatum and Brown, and forcing players like Kyrie Irving, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Luka Doncic to make defensive plays. Both Kyrie and Luka have been playing better defense in the postseason, but stopping offensive weapons like Tatum and Brown is a different story. Now, before I give my prediction, let's talk about clutch time for just a moment. During the initial 2 playoff rounds, the Celtics had only encountered 79 seconds of clutch time, defined as moments when the score margin was within 5 points during the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter or overtime. However, in the Pacers series, they have significantly increased that tally, accumulating 18 minutes of clutch time across games 1, 3, and 4. Their current record stands at 25 wins and 12 losses in games with a 5-point margin. during the last 5 minutes of play this season. Remarkably, they have maintained a flawless 4-0 record in the playoffs, managing to score 53 points on 41 clutch offensive possessions. Past iterations of the Celtics often faced criticism for their performance in late game situations. Throughout the previous 2 seasons, starting in 2021 and ending in May of 2023, including playoffs, the Celtics held a lackluster 38-53 record, translating to a winning percentage of 41.8% in clutch games. With depth, defense, and chemistry, Boston seems to have solved their previous clutch problem. But while the Celtics have improved their clutch time performances, in close games, I'm still picking Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving to find a way. It seems like they've been the underdogs all playoffs long, but in this 7-game series, I can see a scenario where the Dallas Mavericks pull off yet another upset. The Mavs have been impressive in clutch games this postseason, and have had moments where their stars took over in the fourth, while the Celtics were more recently in the finals. For some reason, I trust this Dallas team to show up when it matters most. Either way, the NBA will soon have a new reigning champion, along with a first-time Finals MVP. Who do you think will be new NBA champions? In how many games? And who will be named as the Finals MVP? Let us know in the comments, and please subscribe. And thanks for watching Sports Pantheon.